There were cliffs in Hades, and forests made of mist. There were bridges spanning the void, and that gray blind lake which hung above its distant bottom like the sky on a rainy day above a landscape. And through the gentle, unresisting meadows one pale path unrolled like a strip of cotton. Down this path they were coming. In front, the slender man in the blue cloak, mute, impatient. In large, greedy, unchewed bites his walk devoured the path. His senses felt as though they were split in two. His sight would race ahead of him like a dog, stop, come back, then would stand impatient at the path's next turn. But his hearing, like an odor, stayed behind. Sometimes it reached back to the footsteps of those who followed him up the long path home. But then, once more, it was just his own steps' echo, or the wind inside his cloak that made the sound. He said to himself she had to be behind him, said it aloud and heard it fade away. She had to be behind him, but her steps were ominously soft. If only he could turn around, just once, but looking back would ruin this entire work, so near completion. On the arm of the god of speed and distant messages, barely touching it, she. A woman so loved that from one lyre there came more lament than from all lamenting women, that a whole world of lament arose, and that around this lament world, even as around the other earth, a sun revolved and a silent, star-filled heaven, a lament heaven with its own disfigured stars. So greatly was she loved. She was deep within herself, like a woman heavy with child, and did not see the man in front, or the path ascending steeply into life. Deep within herself. Being dead filled her beyond fulfillment. Like a fruit suffused with its own mystery and sweetness, she was filled with her vast death, which was so new she could not understand that it had happened. She had come into a new virginity and was untouchable. Her sex had closed like a young flower at nightfall, and her hands had grown so unused to marriage that the god's infinitely gentle touch of guidance hurt her, like an undesired kiss. She was no longer the woman who once had echoed through the poet's songs. She was already loosened like long hair, poured out like fallen rain. And when, abruptly, the god put out his hand to stop her, saying, with sorrow in his voice, "He has turned around," she could not understand, and softly answered, "Who?" Far away, dark before the shining exit gates, someone stood, whose features were unrecognizable. He stood and saw how, with a mournful look, the god of messages silently turned to follow the small figure, already walking back along the path, her steps constricted by the trailing grave clothes, uncertain, gentle, and without impatience.